What's up, guys? Welcome to another East Coast Car episode. I realized on the last one I didn't explain a throttle body, and I realized that pretty much after I finished editing and uploading onto YouTube, so my bad, but I got you guys right now. So the throttle body on the intercooler acts, and most of you are correct, it acts as a blow-off valve, essentially blowing the compressed air off throttle into the turbine pipe that goes right into the center section of the manifold. And what that does is helps the anti-lag system by, and I explained this a couple episodes ago, it helps the anti-lag system by adding fresh air into the turbine housing so that when you retard the timing and add fuel, it combusts in the turbo instead of the combustion chamber, obviously. So retarding the timing allows that fuel to pass through the cylinder and combust in the turbo. And what this anti-lag system is called is a fresh air bypass system. So it's just adding fresh air into the turbo, being able to add more fuel and creating a better environment for combustion in the turbo, creating 30 to 32 psi of off throttle boost pressure, so that when you slam the throttle or get back into the throttle, the thing is ready to rock and already at full boost and full power. And it's super awesome drivability, and it feels amazing driving the car. So I forget whose idea the throttle body actually was, because we had a couple different systems for anti-lag that we utilized, and some of them complex, some of them more efficient, but this is definitely the most efficient way of doing it that we've come to utilize, because we looked into a lot of like the hydraulic valves and like the more expensive ones, and those valves cost like $10,000, like super legit race car valve systems. But I was like, well, we're not going to drop 10 grand into an anti-lag system. Let's try this. And it might have been my crew chief Brian Hartzog from Unicorn Garage, myself, or John Reed that recommended trying the throttle body, and we found one that worked, that was small enough. And the only issue that we were worried about is the heat build up on it, but that's why we put it onto the intercooler, so that we knew it would have some cool air coming into it. And it's actually lasted, we've never had an issue with it, knock on wood, and it's been phenomenal all through. The last season was the first year that we ran it on the Pro 86 in Formula Drift, and it had absolutely zero issues through the entire year. So why not just continue? Next up, weld a little elbow on the old turbo. Boom, boom, boom.
You gotta turn it, the turbo a little bit. It's kind of
Looks good. Yep. We still have to mount the intercooler, but it's looking good, man. Well, what you want to do is, it always sucks running like a 90-degree coupler on one of these deals. So it's nice to have one of these 90-degree elbows that you can weld onto the turbo, so you can just run a straight coupler right to here. And then Dom will kind of angle this down and have another straight coupler here, which would be sweet. So you want to make your intercooler piping as short as possible and as direct and straight as possible. So there's less bends and less areas for the air to kind of move around. You kind of direct it a lot faster to where it needs to get. So we're actually going to run one of the Vibrant HD clamps, and that is this deal here. It's pretty cool. It's a quick disconnect, so if I can get it with one hand here, just pull that off like that. And then you have two ends to it, and these weld to the pipe or to whatever your piping situation is going to be. There's a little O-ring right there, and this little black sleeve is what seals everything together. So these are both sandwiched like that together, and the black sleeves goes over the top to seal everything up. It's pretty cool. We're going to put one on the end of the turbo. So Dom's going to weld that on just like so. Dom's now jamming on the intercooler brackets. Using some 1/4 inch flat bar, mild steel. All right, Dom's got the intercooler mounted up. Check this out. I wasn't here for it, and he came up with a really sick design. So he just used some strap, made it lighter, and then threaded some rod all the way down. So it bolts from the bottom here up to the top on these tabs. Boom, boom, boom. And then it just lays on top of the 1/4 inch flat bar. Pretty dope. And then that will stiffen up once we get the piping on. Pretty sick, dude. We are gearing up to work on another project. So we're gonna take a back seat to the East Coast car for maybe a couple weeks while I have some other cool content coming out that I hope you guys like, some more driving stuff. And then we're gonna kick it back on with the East Coast car and hopefully get this thing finished up here in the next couple months. I say couple months, but those will fly by real quick. So Dominic's got the intercooler on, has the intercooler piping done. He actually pulled the turbo and stuff back off because he was working on tying in the throttle body to the manifold, and what we had to do is, this had a 1 3/4 pipe, and Dom had to cut it off and put a 2-inch pipe on here that then goes to a V-band flange, steel one. And then on the other side, we didn't have an aluminum V-band flange, so what Dom decided to do is take a chunk of aluminum and mill a V-band, a custom V-band flange onto here. And then he added this crazy looking heat sink deal that came out super sick. Look at that thing. Dude is amazing. So that came out super sick. I was actually gone when he was doing this, so I wasn't able to film the process. Sorry guys, but it came out super legit. So now the ALS system is all set to go. We can put the turbo back on, and then after that we are probably gonna do intake, exhaust, and then also the Mishimoto parts just showed up. So we have power steering cooler, engine oil cooler, and a fan or two to go with that stuff. So we're probably gonna put that right here, see how that stacks up. Then we can mount the power steering pump and start running lines and fittings and everything else. So this thing really is coming together, guys. Oh yeah, we use the Vibrant HD clamps on the tops of the intercooler piping. We're using couplers down here just because that's what we like better. But coming off of the turbo, we have a HD clamp, as you guys saw earlier, from when Dom was welding that on. And then another really rad thing Dom got done while I was gone is he bead rolled all of the sheet metal back here. Give it a nice sick texture look. Sorry, let me get the exposure right here. Look at that. So a lot of the cool little details that Dom does really gonna set this thing apart, and thing is killing it so far. So anyway, that's where we're at with the car. We're gonna finish up the engine bay, I think, next, so that this thing is fully dialed, and we can move on to plumbing. And then we have to do rear end stuff. I'm gonna swap rear ends to something different that has a better gear ratio, and then we can do some wiring, and then maybe put some fuel in it and fire this thing up. But that's like a couple weeks down or months down the road, because we have some other stuff going on that we're going to start. All right, guys, so I wasn't around for Dom to make this, but I know you all want to know how it was made. So we're going to go over and talk to him right now and get the lowdown. All right, Dom. Everybody wants to know how you made this.
They can't figure it out.
No, it's like there's a lot going on, dude. There's quite the process to that thing. First off, you cut that chunk out of this, right?
Yeah.
To make the V-bands?
We didn't have any round stock. The biggest piece we had was like a little bit too small.
Yep.
So it's the hard way. You can cut it out of a square piece. This was like the perfect size.
Yep.
And I was just gonna make the flange originally, but since I had to waste basically such a large piece, I was like, why don't I do something with all that excess material? And, you know, I thought, the way this works is, you know, you want a nice cool air charge to be to go into the manifold for combustion. So it would help if it had some like cooling fins or something. I just had like a weird idea and I thought it'd be cool. So basically cut this out of a piece like this. After that, I bored a hole, this center hole,
yep,
and was able to hold it in the lathe.
Okay.
Oh, I bored the hole in the mill first.
So you bored the hole on the mill.
Yeah.
And then took it over to the lathe.
And then it was basically just like a square block with a hole in it. And then instead of cutting the corners off on the lathe, I did it on the bandsaw and just roughed it out to, you know, it basically looked like a ring. And then I was able to hold it in the lathe like this. And what I did was I machined, you know, this taper for the V-bend flange. And then I also machined this section. You know,
and each of these are a different height, essentially.
Yeah, this is tapered
width
as well. I made it tapered just so it looks nice. So that was all solid, you know, it didn't have these fins. And then after that, you know, profile was done, I used like a small little... like a cutoff blade, and what I did with that was I cut each individual slot.
Okay.
So they're all spaced like 150 thousandths apart.
Yep.
So I did the slot all the way to the depth I want, and then basically looked like a solid piece with just the fins in it. And then after that, I held it in the turntable on the milling machine.
And this is the turntable here.
Yeah.
This is the turntable, and you can spin this so this thing moves circularly.
Yeah.
So then you held it in there and you used an end mill.
And I used an end mill to do these reliefs in the fins just to make it look a little nicer and to thin these out even more.
Yeah. It looks, well, it came out sick. And if you guys haven't heard or know of heat sinks, think about old two strokes or old Harley Davidson, like the jugs. Yeah, it's all air cooled stuff from like the 80s and the 70s before they had coolant. So it's pretty much the exact same situation, just looks sick. Yeah.
And
it's more stylized aesthetically.
Yeah, it's just for looks really, that, but and it actually works out even better than I thought because it's right next to the alternator and the alternator has a fan on it, so it's kind of blowing air on it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
It's not gonna hurt anything.
No,
if it doesn't work. The only thing it can do is help by, you know, dissipating some of the heat.
Right.
So it looks cool, and who knows if it drops the temperature in this tube, you know, even 10 degrees or so, you know, it's better than nothing. So.
Definitely. 100%, dude. And it looks sick.
Just looks cool.
Definitely looks cool. See, it was a happy accident. Dom didn't even mean to do that. And because we were missing the proper material to make the job easy, Dom came up with a sick, unique way of making it even better.